Welcome to it, sports fans. It is Tuesday the 20th. Cape Town, South Africa. Rather miserable today. But I'm not miserable. I had a great day. Another great day out here in Cape Town. Wonderful city to be and great energy at the moment. So super to be out and about. Welcome to From the Bleachers with me, MKT. Today we're going to have some fun. We're going to talk a little bit about what's happening at Manchester United, of course. They've suffered a little bit of a slump since 2013. We're going to get into it to see whether it's a unique situation or whether Manchester United are just following a trend. So we're going to explore all of that. And maybe we'll make Man United fans feel better or worse depending on their perspective on the matter. And we're going to talk about Super Rugby and its imminent decline and whether that can be fixed. What is the problem and why is there a problem in what should be the premier rugby competition in the world? And last but not least, it is nearly time perhaps to say goodbye to the greatest era in the history of tennis. That's right, we're going to talk about the big three. They're about to do their thing, probably together for the very last time. We saw a new crowning of a new champion in London over the weekend. Zverev defeating Novak Djokovic. And perhaps it is a handover of the guard from the three greatest of all time. I'll give you my opinion on that and a little bit more in and around the tennis scene to finish off the show. That's going to be fun. That'll be to end off the show. But for now, MKT, myself, I'm going to bring you From the Bleachers. It is such a pleasure to be with you guys. It is indeed episode 9, the 20th of November here in Cape Town. We're going to get straight into it. We're going to talk about Man United. Now, they are a club, of course, who have, it would be fair to say, dominated English football over the last sort of 25 years or so. I don't think anybody, whether you love them or you hate them, can deny that. But I've asked myself, is Man United's downfall unique? So I've had a look into sort of the three powers that have existed in English football, and I've just sort of narrowed it down to the Premier League days. So from 92-93 onwards, I want to know, is Man United's decline unique? It's been spectacular, but is it unique? You know, in the 90s and the noughties, it was all about going to retail stores, right? And shopping malls, big shopping malls. I remember I used to go with my parents or my mom. If you come from a single parent home, you'd go with a mom or a dad. And you'd go on the Saturday. And then like on Sunday, you'd go back for like the arcade or whatever, you know. Saturday, you do food, clothing, blah, 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 school stuff, all the boring stuff. Sunday, awesome. When I go to the arcade and waste like, I don't know, 100 Rand back then felt like 1,000,000 Rand. Play at the Magic Company and play the football game all day. Those were my Sundays back then. But it was all about shopping malls, right? That's where you had to get your stuff. And shopping malls at the time, of course, they had the oligopoly. Forget the monopoly. They had the oligopoly in terms of where you had to get stuff in a consumer society. You had to have space in a mall. That is the only way you could sell your stuff to people, to the middle class, upper middle class, on a large scale. There was no other way back then. But in 1994, a man by the name of Jeffrey Preston Bezos had in fact started the ball rolling on the demise of each and every single mall around the first and developed markets in the world. That was in 1994. Now, at Amazon, you buy your books, clothes, music, food, headphones, and you know what? You're all on your couch to do this. In 1994, Jeff Bezos started Amazon. Clothes, music, food, even your headphones. You buy those on your couch while you're chilling. Don't have to go to the mall anymore. Play my video games at my house. I don't have to go sit at the Magic Company and sit and wait for another guy. I can play PlayStation at home. Got a PlayStation 3. Or whatever kids have now. It's like PlayStation 15. I don't know where it is. But in 1994, Jeff Bezos started a company called Amazon. And retail stores got what we call disrupted. Amazon is what you call a disruptor in the market. And shopping malls have never, ever recovered. Amazon barely have any shops around the world, less than 50 retail stores worldwide. I don't count Whole Foods. Whole Foods is a different thing. But in terms of actual Amazon retail stores actually selling stuff to the public, there are less than 50 worldwide, and they're expanding into India very, very soon. Man United suffered like the big retail store because they were blind, as all juggernauts are, to disruption, to more dynamic models of customer-centric models of operation. Man United in 2013 suffered a double trauma which they didn't see coming. They lost David Gill and they lost Sir Alex Ferguson at the time. Now, what they didn't see coming isn't the loss of those two. That, of course, was planned, I think, from what I've read, 18 months before Fergie left. What I think Man United didn't realize is exactly what was to be lost in those two. Because before your girlfriend breaks up with you, she might threaten to break up with you and you might dare her to do it. But when she does do it, and then you come home 7 days later and you've had 7 frozen meals and your socks are all over the floor and the kitchen's gross, and then you realize, oh my goodness, this is a massive. That's what happened to Manchester United. It's not that they didn't know that Fergie was leaving. It's not that David Gill left by mistake or surprise. It's that they didn't anticipate the disruption that would cause what to them seemed a smooth transition to Fergie 2.0. You know him as David Moyes. How have other clubs responded when they've been disrupted? So I thought we'd have a look at the two obvious ones that have been the dominant powerhouses before Chelsea and before Man City. I think it's undoubted that the biggest clubs in England for the first sort of decade of the Premier League were Arsenal, Liverpool, and undoubtedly Manchester United. You know, in November 1986, some guy from Glasgow came from Aberdeen, and Manchester United hired him. And at the end of that season, in that 86-87 season, Manchester United finished 11th. The next season, Manchester United added 25 points to their total and finished only 9 points behind Liverpool. And if you've read anything about that season, which was Fergie's first full season in charge, is that Liverpool never saw it coming. They said he would never ever knock them off their perch. Of course, I'm using the family-friendly version of that. Fergie said it a little bit stronger with a few more 4-letter words. But that was the warning, and the juggernaut that was Liverpool didn't realize what was to come. The evidence was there, but they didn't want to see it, like the big shopping malls when Jeff Bezos started Amazon. Liverpool ignored those warning signs because the perch was comfortable. The title in 1990 that Liverpool won was their 18th local title. They were 10 ahead of Manchester United in 1990 and were never to be caught, in their minds at least. In 1992, the English First Division transitioned to the Premier League. In 93, something else happened. Sir Alex Ferguson was joined by an Irish lad by the name of Roy Keane. In 2008, Manchester United moved tie with Liverpool on 18 trophies. In 2013, Sir Alex got his 13th and United's 21st title. You might say, my goodness, what has happened in that time? Liverpool, for 28 years, never won a trophy because they didn't listen to the sign in Fergie's very first season in charge. He earned 25 points more than his previous season, and he announced that he was on the block. But Liverpool said, we're too big to fail, and ignored the warning signs. In 93, Roy Keane joined. In 2008, Manchester United secured their 18th title to go even with Liverpool. And in 2013, Sir Alex Ferguson rode off into the sunset with his 21st title. Liverpool have never recovered from the combo of the greatest Catholic and Protestant combo in Keane and Ferguson. They have not won a title in 28 years. In 2007, on June 25th of June 2007, Arsenal Football Club, I believe, suffered their greatest ever disruption and trauma. 2007, June the 25th, Arsenal Football Club suffered their greatest disruption and trauma. Many people think the move there to the Emirates the season before was the beginning of the end. But I say 2007, June 25th. The day that Thierry Daniel Henry left Arsenal Football Club, and he clearly stated it wasn't for the money. That was the day Arsenal Football Club were rocked to its core, and they never ever recovered. Arsenal and Arsene Wenger on that day ceased to be an elite manager and a football club, because when Thierry Henry left the door, it told everybody within the dressing room and everybody around that this club is here for the taking, and they will never, ever be the same again. People tell me the stadium affected Arsenal's ability to build a squad. I'm going to give you a list of names. Nasri, Fabregas, Van Persie, Clichy, Sagna. Those players all played together, and they all left at their peak. You might say they went to Manchester City for money, but they left because they could see that Arsenal was no longer elite. When Thierry Henry left Arsenal, it was the greatest trauma that club in London has ever had. Not the day they opened the stadium, not the financial constraints of that, because Patrick Vieira wasn't too far behind. And the beautiful thing about elite sportsmen, I don't care who you are as a coach, how good a sort of diplomat you are, and Arsene Wenger is as diplomatic as they've ever come. You can lie to the public, you can lie to the shareholders, but one set of people you can't lie to in sport is the players. Players know who's great. Players can see when the dog is gone from their manager. June 2015, 2007, Thierry Henry walked out of the Emirates, and with him he took Arsenal's elite status until this very day on the 20th of November 2018. You know, when a player like Henry leaves, it should have jolted Arsenal in to say, what's wrong with us? But it didn't. They went the other way. We're too big to fail. We've got a new stadium. We've got all these exciting youngsters. Fabregas, at that time, Vieira hadn't left. They had Nasri, Fabregas, Vieira, Van Persie, Clichy, Sagna. All these guys came along. Ashley Cole, of course, famously went to Chelsea. And my God, Arsenal have been a mess since then. The day Henry walked, he took with him the blue chip status of Arsenal Football Club. In 2018, Arsenal will be delighted to come in the top 6 this season, Spurs have defeated them in the last 2 seasons, and I think the writing's on the wall. Chelsea have won 5 titles in the time since their last Premier League title. Man United fans should just realize that what they're going through is normal. It is normal what's happening at Manchester United. The sad part is that the club knew it was coming, and if I can see it, why didn't they? That's what should concern Manchester United fans. Ed Woodward, his short-sightedness, everybody in that dressing room. There is no ways, absolutely no ways they should not have been warned by the patterns that Liverpool and Arsenal Football Club followed. I will repeat to you, Arsenal have not won a title in forever. In 2018, they're going to be delighted with top 6, and Spurs have defeated them the last 2 years running. That's a fact. That is not conjecture. That's not me making it up. So Manchester United are on a dangerous course to follow the pattern. Who you blame, I guess, that's another conversation. I've suggested Ed Woodward, but people can blame whoever they want. Losing Granddaddy Fergie after 27 years, if you've ever been to your grandparents' place, they let you get away with more. Granny will make you lunch. You can get away with murder. Your feet are on the couch. Nobody says anything. But we know grandparents will generally protect you and cover up for anything that you do and any shortcomings. When Fergie left, everything was exposed. The numbers say roughly, I had a look at them, Man United should expect about 10 years of mediocrity from here. It took Liverpool 12 years before they came second after their previous title. 12 years. It took Arsenal about 11 years to get near the title again post their last title. They did come second after their last title, but that wasn't very close. It took them another 11 years to get near the title. So what I'm saying to Man United fans, it might make you sad, it might make you happy. But you're following the trend. This was to be expected. You lost Fergie and Gill in one go, and I'm afraid it's never been the same. I don't hate Man United. I'm just compelled by the numbers and analytics. I've had a look at it. Arsenal and Liverpool did exactly what big malls did when Amazon came along. Man United is the mass mall, and Man City are Amazon. Moving on to this. So if you're like me, right, and you're South African, and love rugby, because I love rugby, it's awesome. International rugby, love a bit of Super Rugby. Back in the day, I used to get up with a good friend of mine, sleep at his house. We'd get up at like 4 o'clock in the morning, watch the rugby, drive his mother and brother mad. Because back in the day, the rugby used to be on at super awkward hours. You used to have to get up like 4 o'clock to watch All Black tests and watch some of the Super 10 and Super 12 games back then. You know, I grew up in a traditionally black home, South African black home. So I don't know what it's like for other people around the world. I don't know how people grow up. I don't know anything. But I grew up in a traditionally black home. So let me explain to you how some of those dynamics worked. I made my first South African white friends at about the age of about 6. So, you know, like going to their house, those kind of white friends. When you start going to their house, you know, at about 6 years old. And in a black home, kids are more there to, you know, be subservient and just listen to your mom or dad. That's the type of home I grew up in. I remember going to my white friend's house And the guy would be like, to his mom, shut up, mom. Like, I remember that and thinking, oh my goodness, I need to take cover now because she's about to drop the hammer of Thor on him and I don't want to get involved in the police case. I don't know if I knew that at 6, but I knew that events after a kid tells their mom to shut up, it's about to get hectic. It's going to get dynamic. Like, my dad was a super placid guy, right? So, like, not violent at all. Like, my dad would give me, like, a spanking if I... First of all, I was very naughty. But he was, like, very placid and the least violent man I think I've ever met. But if I had said that, there would have had to be some furniture moving around my house, right? Like that is crazy. I remember my friend's mother going, let's call him Johnny. Johnny, don't speak to me like that, please, in front of other people. I was like, what? Like, what is going on here? Seriously, I thought WWE SmackDown, that was going to go down. Because if that happened in my home, my dad is like a super placid guy, but I would have got the cane choke slam straight away. Tell my dad or my parent, my mom, to shut up. I was like, what? And that's how I feel about Super Rugby. Like, I feel it's that ridiculous. I'm the little black kid at the white guy's house telling his mom to shut up. And I'm like, what? What's happening here? Like, I want to try and explain this to people, okay? And I don't know if I'm crazy. I think I'm crazy. Maybe I'm getting old. I don't know. Maybe I don't like change. Maybe that's what it is. Like, I am really old now. I'm like well into my 30s now. 32. It's all downhill from here. Like hip replacement within 2 years and probably a rocking chair within 5. But let me explain this scenario to you, which happened. This is not conjecture. You can kind of look it up. The Lions, with 46 points and a weaker schedule, finished above the Hurricanes, who had 51 points and played all the New Zealand teams twice on the log. So the Lions had 46 points. And they finished above the team with 51 points from New Zealand, who had a tougher schedule because they played the New Zealand teams twice. But the Lions finished above them. The Lions had 46 points. The Hurricanes had 51. So the Lions, 46. The Hurricanes, 51. 46-51. Okay. Fine. I was never a whiz kid with the mathematics. So I thought, let me look a bit deeper into it. Just wait, there's more. The Lions and the Waratahs had less points than the Hurricanes and the Chiefs and came second and third on the 15-team log, right? So the Waratahs and the Lions had less points than the Hurricanes and the Chiefs, and the Hurricanes and Chiefs obviously have to play the New Zealand teams twice, home and away. So they had a tougher schedule. The Lions and the Waratahs had less points on a 15-team log. And there is one log that is presented. But that wouldn't be a big deal, I guess, second and third place, if those spots weren't for a home semi-final. Right? Am I crazy here? The Lions and Waratahs had less points than the Chiefs and the Hurricanes. The Hurricanes and Chiefs had a tougher schedule. But the Lions and the Waratahs got a home semi. Okay? Like, what are we talking about here? Like, ladies, have you ever had to date somebody, right? And you had to explain to them at the age of like 29 how to use a washing machine? Like, you know, when you get into a relationship with somebody, they need to simplify your life, not make it more complicated. I would imagine when you get older, I don't know, I'm single. Maybe I'm doing it the wrong way. Do I need to find somebody who's complicating my life? Like, ladies, I'm sure you've dated a guy and he didn't know how to use a washing machine and he was 29. It's like, oh my goodness, I'm dating a mama's boy. That's Super Rugby. It's like complexity should be taken out of sport. I watch it to relax and socialize with my friends. I don't want to have to focus and figure out the log while I'm hanging out with my friends. What is going on here? And the deeper problem for rugby is that rugby is already trying to compete with football for the attention of the big nations around the world. I mean, unless you're in New Zealand, let's think of the big markets. England, South Africa. In both of those countries, it's competing against football. I don't understand it. And I think the Jaguares and the Sunwolves are actually subtraction by addition. Elite sport is not Montessori schools, guys. I'm all for kids getting involved, everyone getting a chance, whatever. That's like a different conversation. Everybody can get a chance at Montessori. I have nephews at boys' schools, right? Like if I want to watch amateur rugby and everyone having a good time, shaking hands afterwards, I'll pop down. I'll pop down and watch my cousin at boys' schools. But we all pay top dollar for DSTV in South Africa, for Sky Sports around the world, for Sky Sports in Australia and New Zealand to watch professionals. And professionals, I want to see the best versus the best. Not the Lions and the Waratahs getting a home semi-final, even though they got less points and a weaker schedule than the Hurricanes and the Chiefs. It's not Montessori, guys. It's not Montessori. I'm not having it. I don't need professionals to be given a chance. That's what Montessori is for. Like, hey, send your kids to Montessori. Everyone gets a chance there. Everyone's equal. Everyone gets a medal just for pitching up. Seriously, Sansa, right, are the proverbial snake eating its own tail. I want the best versus the best. Like, save this inclusivity nonsense for the UN meetings. Right? The UN must discuss how people get involved and we can all be one bigger society and include more people. I want to watch the best rugby teams play. And if that means it's New Zealand teams, c'est la vie. C'est la vie. That's South Africa's problem. That's Australia's problem. I don't want to hear it. I don't want to hear excuses. Also, can we just get logical about the playoff phase of this whole situation? Add a bye week, right? After the quarterfinals, let's get smart about it. You add a bye week between the quarterfinal and the semi-final, and then a bye week between the semi-final and the final. And there's two aspects to that. Often, as happens, like now, the Lions had to go to New Zealand. I'm already over the fact that they don't even deserve to be in the final, and I'm a Lions fan, but okay. So the Lions had to go to the Crusaders after playing in South Africa in a home semi-final, right? Now they travel on the Monday, land on the Tuesday, have to practice on the Wednesday and the Thursday. When do you recover from jet lag? Remember, jet lag, they say you give about a day for however many hours you're losing or gaining, either way. That's like not hard science, but it's about the rule. So what you do is not only are you already stealing from the fan experience by having the worst conference idea ever, now you're stealing you're making it even more uneven and unwatchable, and now it's the final. Just do what the Super Bowl do in American NFL. And what that allows you to do on a commercial front is as that other team comes into town, you get to build the excitement. The guys get to go to more interviews. You'll get more interviews with the opposing team. They'll go to the local, wherever. Let's say, for instance, let's use the Crusaders and the Lions. The Lions players would have been able to go to the radio stations, the TV stations, and really build the event up to make it a massive, massive final. What that week allows is then for the Lions players to rest, acclimatize, and then you've got what we want at the elite level of sport, as equal a competition as possible. The Crusaders, of course, crushed the Lions this year. It was ridiculous all along. It was absolutely ridiculous. It was never going to work. It isn't going to work. Super Rugby is turning into a joke. And it is so, so sad. I think all we've got left is international rugby. Sands are sorted out. We don't need 15 teams. 12 is enough. It's all about money, and we're getting greedy. Last but not least, I've got one more subject. I want to touch on something. So I watched the young German Zverev yesterday beat Novak Djokovic. And there was a little bit of a tear inside because I've got sort of a male fragility which won't allow me to cry out loud. I don't cry out loud, just in case somebody sees me and then they think I'm less of a man, and then my male fragility is exposed to the world. But anyway, so I have a cousin who I love dearly, and she's dating a great guy, right? Like a super great guy. He's actually unbelievable. He's a really, really nice guy. But I'm struggling to be happy for her because I think pretty soon he's going to realize how boring she is. Because she's super boring. I love her, but she's super, super boring. That's how I feel about tennis right now. Seriously, that's how I feel about tennis right now. I feel like I'm watching my cousin with this cool guy, and I'm like, surely he can see that this is going to end. But I'm not unhappy for my cousin. I'm unhappy for me because he's such a cool guy and I get the benefits. So in tennis, I'm like, ugh. And I look at these names. Anderson, Eisner, Cilic, Nishikori. Ugh. That's tennis for the next 10 years? Ugh. Zverev beat Novak, and I thought Novak was awful. I'm going to have to start watching every single tennis major for the next 2 years. I'd say maybe next year. I think next year's the last year they're all together. Roger, Rafa, Novak, the three greatest of all time, are done. I think within the next 2 years, they will all exit stage left. Rafa's knees are done. Novak seems to be in a midlife crisis. And Roger's like 347 years old, isn't he? He's something like that. He's close. Maybe in the 200s. He's ancient. Like my cousin's awesome boyfriend. He's so cool. But like him, I know the next guy is going to be another wet blanket. In inverted commas, Andy Murray. How boring's he? He's the next guy. Ugh. Terrible. Point being, folks, let's cherish what we've got. Novak's knees are done. Rafa's knees are done. Novak is having a midlife crisis. And Roger Federer is actually Socrates reincarnated. He's thousands of years old. It's over now. To young Zverev, I say congratulations, and perhaps he's the next hope. But I'll give you these names again, if you're a tennis fan like I am. Anderson, Eisner, Cilic, Nishikori. And I'll give you the biggest wet blanket of all, Murray. I'm like, ugh. Because that's not what I want to see. I want to see Novak going crazy at the ref. I want to see Serena going crazy at the ref. That's what I'm about. I want to be entertained. Anderson, Eisner, Cilic, Nishikori. To these three gentlemen, Roger Federer, Rafa Nadal, Novak Djokovic. To you three, I say thank you very much. It has been an absolute pleasure. It is game, set, and match. And that's it for today's From the Bleachers. Man, that was awesome. That was really, really cool. Love tennis, by the way. Makes me so sad that those three are nearly gone. But that's it for today. Looking forward to tomorrow. It's going to be an awesome one. It's been awesome being with you, and I will chat to you tomorrow.